Hello everyone, greetings of the day. I'm Komal Mathur, a legal intern at Lexis and Company. I'm studying in Manipal University and currently I'm in my second year of BA LLB. I'm glad to have this opportunity of interning with Lexis and Company, as this is the sole reason why I'm here presenting this video in front of you all. So the topic or purpose of today's video is to analyze the case of Balfour versus Balfour, which is a very known and a very common case in contracts law or torts law. So we're gonna do a short case analysis kind of thing for this case. So this was the full name of the case is Balfour versus Balfour, 1919 to KB 571, and the final decision for this case was given on 25th June 1919. So let me tell you about the facts of this case. What happened in this case? The appellant in this case is Mr. Balfour. He and his wife used to stay in Ceylon, that is in Sri Lanka. Then they went to England for spending their vacation in 1915, and there his wife became ill, very ill, and the doctors in England suggested his wife to stay in England itself for her treatment, and Mr. Balfour has to go back to Ceylon for his work because the vacations were over. So what happened? They made an agreement. Mr. Balfour would send 30 euros every month until he returned back to England. So this understanding was made while the relationship was fine, but soon what happened? The relationship got sour because of the distance and some kind of misunderstandings, because they were not able to communicate properly because of the distance between them. After some months of returning back to Zealand, what happened? Mr. Balfour wrote to her wife that he wanted a permanent separation, that is divorce. Now both were divorced subsequently, and then issue arose as whether the agreement which they made in England was enforceable or not. Soon after that, what happened? In 1918, Mrs. Balfour sued his husband, Mr. Balfour, for restitution of her conjugal rights and for non-payment of the amount which he promised to pay in England, which is the amount of 30 euros per month. Now let me tell you about the major issues which were raised in this case. There were three major issues. The first was, did Mr. and Mrs. Balfour ever intended to enter in some legally binding agreement? The second issue which was raised in this case was, is that agreement between both of them, husband and wife, is valid in a nature of law? Is contract between, and the third and the last issue was, is the contract between husband and wife enforceable in court of law? The final decision held for the case of Balfour versus Balfour was that the nature of the agreement between Mr. and Mrs. Balfour was purely and completely domestic. Lord Atkin held that if a husband and wife enter into an agreement, they never intend to create any kind of legal relationship. For an agreement to be legally enforceable in the court of law, there must be an intention to create a legal relationship between both the parties of the contract. The agreement made between the spouses to provide capitals or any kind of monetary benefits does not hold any legally binding authority. The Court of Appeal had unanimously ruled that there is no such enforceable agreement between Mr. and Mrs. Balfour. Subsequently, Mr. Balfour was allowed. Basically, the law revolves around the concept that there must be an intention and on both the part of the parties to create a legal relationship while entering into a contract. This was the ratio decidendi of the case. Whether the parties intended to create a legal relationship or not is determined by examining the circumstances which existed under which the execution of the contract was done. Now, at the end, let us do a short analysis of this case. Initially, at the first instance of this case, Justice Sargent had held that the claims made by Mrs. Balfour are valid and Mr. Balfour should be entitled to pay her the maintenance for which he promised to pay in England. Finally, when Mr. Balfour appealed in the Court of Appeal, it was held by the bench of judges Warrington L.J., Duke L.J., and Atkin L.J. that the agreement is not enforceable in the court of law. Lord Atkin observed it with regard to owing to its domestic nature. whereas Warrington LJ and Duke LJ did so because they doubted that Mrs. Balfour gave the consideration. The doctrine of intention to create a legal relationship was invoked by Lord Atkinson. It was said that the doctrine was with regard to public policy and domestic agreement has nothing to do with it. The court cannot indulge into such trivial issues relating to personal or family arguments, just like it did into the Balfour versus Balfour case, which was totally a domestic contract, which was a domestic kind of, a promise between a husband and wife. Though there may be certain circumstances where husband and wife may enter into an agreement which is legally binding in nature, but here in this case there was no such circumstances, it was just merely a promise. The doctrine attracted attention and gained prominence after this case. This intention is sometimes also referred to animus contrahendi. In one of the later case of Jonas versus Padavotan, Salman LJ had said that this is factual in nature. It does not possess any legal presumption. Intention to create legal relationship is one of the essential elements while entering into a contract. Thank you. That's it for today. Have a nice day.